All right. Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Small Axe Podcast. I'm really pumped, really excited for 2026. I think it's going to be a sick year. I hope you guys get to really, really prosper and enjoy everything that this year is going to offer. And I hope you get to take advantage of a lot of things that are just changing out there in the world. And I just want you guys to succeed and be successful. So let's jump into this. Today, I want to talk about something that stops way too many of you guys from ever buying an apartment building, and that's making offers. Submitting LOIs. How many should you be doing? How many offers should you be making a day, a week, a month, a year? And what does it even look like when you're actually making offers? So, first of all, let's clear some things up. An LOI is not a PSA. You are not legally tied to the deal if you offer with an LOI. And you're not really locked in forever. You're not married to the property. Yes, it's serious. Submitting an LOI is serious for sure, but it is just a step. It is just showing that you are taking the initiative, that you are interested in purchasing the property. But when you submit the LOI, it doesn't mean you're actually going to purchase the property, but it gets your foot in the door. And here's what I mean. So the LOI basically says this: based on what I know right now, this is my best estimate of price and terms. That's it. And the reason that this matters is because so many new investors think that an LOI just means you're committed, that you're going to be locked into this deal. So you freeze up, you overanalyze, you stall. And maybe that's not even the reason you're stalling. Sometimes it's just kind of intimidating and scary to pop in an offer because that means you have to take the next step. Taking action is crucial in this game, but you want to take the right action. And submitting an LOI is just kind of getting your feet wet, right? And that's okay. You can submit an LOI and then back out. Obviously, you're not going to submit a bunch of LOIs with the intent of backing out. When you submit an offer, an LOI, or even a verbal offer, that's just saying, as I said before, this is where you think you can purchase the property so that it will be a good deal for you, obviously. Now, if the seller accepts it, the seller is thinking the same thing, that this is a good deal for them too. Okay. But you can't overanalyze this stuff. You can't get too crazy. You can't just get jammed up at this stage because there's so much more that's going to go down after submitting an offer, either verbally or through an LOI. Okay. So just buckle up and do it. You know what I mean? Obviously, you want to set the foundation with your underwriting. Make sure that you're comfortable with your underwriting. Make sure that you have a general idea of the property, how it performs, how it will perform, the general idea of the neighborhood, etc. And then when you submit that offer, be ready for either a counteroffer, a rejection, or for it to be accepted. And if it's accepted, how are you going to handle that? And that's really the topic of another podcast episode. And you can handle it. I just need you to know that, yes, you can handle getting an offer accepted. It's a good thing if you get your offer accepted. It's going to be intimidating. It's going to be scary, but that's okay. All of the LOIs that you don't submit, other people are submitting. And those people, whether they're getting their offers accepted or not, they're still getting reps. They're getting the reps in, they're getting the conversations in with the brokers, they're getting feedback, they're getting positioning, they're getting acknowledged by the brokers, and that's important. So here's what my rhythm typically looks like. I look at deals most days, and I won't go too deep on the deals. If I get a general feel for how the deal is, I can basically feel a deal out within a few minutes. But if it fits my buy box, and then I do a full underwriting or a half underwriting, and I kind of understand how it's going to work and function, and I like the deal at a certain price point, I typically will say to a broker, hey, I'm at this price point. I'll do it either on the phone, through a text, or on an email. Very simple. And the broker will say, oh, cool, submit the offer. Or that's way too far off, and we will follow up with you in the future if the seller decides to reduce their price or something like that. But the point is this: my offers, and I offer a few times a week or every 2 weeks. It depends on how many deal flow I'm getting, what I'm dealing with at the time, but I do offer a lot and I engage with brokers a lot. So here's the thing: you offer and then you get some feedback. And if they want you to submit that LOI, you submit it. If the LOI gets accepted and signed, that is excellent. You're now going to move forward and get into contract. LOI is non-binding. You can back out. When you go to the PSA, which is going to be drafted after the offer is accepted by both yourself from drafting that LOI and then the seller for signing the LOI, you go to PSA. Okay. And that's a purchase and sale agreement. And that is binding to a degree, but you're going to also be working out a lot of the nuances within that contract. You could do it with an attorney, or you can do it with a standard contract, and you can work out some nuances of what you want to happen in that contract. For example, you can negotiate the due diligence time period. You can negotiate the money down, the EMD, the earnest money deposit. You can negotiate how long the closing time frame is going to be. You can negotiate whether or not your EMD is refundable, and up to a certain point. There's a lot of different things that you can negotiate after you get your LOI accepted to when you draft that actual PSA. Now, here's another thing. The PSA is typically drafted about 3 days after the offer is accepted with the LOI. Okay. That doesn't give you enough time to get in there and inspect the property and go through every unit. So you typically write in there, you have a DD period of 30 days is the typical DD period, due diligence period. You can reduce it to 21 days or 14 days, but that gives you less time to work, right? And typically the EMD, the earnest money deposit, is refundable up until that due diligence period is over. Okay. So my point is this: you have to be making a lot of offers. And if your biggest concern is that you're going to be locked into a deal, a multi-million-dollar deal, and dishing out money right away, you're not totally right. Okay. Yes, you're going to be dishing out some money if you're going to be paying for an inspection. Yes, you're going to dish out some money if you're going to be paying for things like a contract to be drafted by an attorney or reviewed by an attorney. And you're going to be sending an EMD, an earnest money deposit, which is refundable. But the things that are typically not refundable if you're going to proceed with trying to close on this property is the inspection. That's the first thing that you're going to pay for. It could be $1,500, it could be $3,000. Okay. So that is an expense that you need to take note of. And if you're really confident in the deal or confident enough, you pay that. You get it out. It's just the cost of playing the game. All right. Paying for an inspection is the cost of playing the game. I will never buy a deal without doing an inspection. So again, I submit a bunch of offers per week. And obviously there's some weeks where there's much less deal flow and I can't really offer, but sometimes I'll go back and look at old properties and say, hey, where does this property shake out? Where's the seller on this one? And just engage with brokers constantly. And a lot of people are afraid of making offers or submitting LOIs because their pricing is way off. I'm typically 80, 70, 60% of asking price when I make my offer. And that's okay. The broker will tell you, hey, look, that's way too far off. You can come up a little bit and submit an LOI or just walk and look at a different property. Don't take it to heart. Don't be emotional about it. Just go look at other properties. It's okay. Or you might get lucky and you might say, here's my offer. I'm at 60% of asking. What does the seller think? And then the seller might accept it. Awesome. Or the seller might reject it. Now, and 2 months later, if you follow up, that seller might then be a little bit more willing to engage if he or she is not getting any traction. So another thing we need to note is that the reps matter more than perfection. Every offer or every LOI that you submit does 3 big things for you. Number one, it forces you to sharpen your underwriting. Every time you submit an offer, you're comparing your underwriting to the seller's underwriting, and you're doing your underwriting assuming that you're going to have to take over this property. So you've got to be serious about your underwriting. And number two, this is going to build relationships. Brokers start to think, okay, this person's serious. They're not just browsing LoopNet. They're not just perusing Crexy. They're actually submitting offers, actually looking for a deal. And if you submit multiple offers, it shows you're really intent on buying something. And that's very important for the brokers. And number three, this trains your brain to just move, go, take action, speed. Speed wins in this business. You cannot win if you hesitate on everything. And remember, you don't have to close on every single deal. You shouldn't close on every deal. I mean, once you get into the due diligence period and you find some terrible things, you're going to have to renegotiate sometimes, right? And if the seller's not willing to renegotiate, you walk and that's it. But you're going to be out some money, likely the inspection cost, which is important to note. Okay. This is not a free game. You don't get to just walk around and buy $1 million apartment building without putting any investment or time or energy into it. Okay. So you're going to be spending some money. Now, if you don't have that money for the inspection, make sure you have partners that are willing to spend that money. Okay. So you guys already know that I am a W-2 employee. I did not come from money. I had to learn this the hard way through reps, through action, through studying, through education, networking, mentorship, etc. But here's what changed everything for me. So I stopped waiting to feel ready because I never really felt ready. And I just started submitting offers. I started fumbling. I started moving forward. And every offer that I submitted with a broker got questioned by the broker. And why did you pick this for an expense? How come you're at this price point? And I had to explain myself. And it's very important for me to get those reps and the conversations in with the brokers. Were some of the offers that I made wrong? Were some of the steps that I made wrong? Were some of the actions that I took wrong? Yes. And I failed a little bit. But for a lot of us, and me especially, I really, really learned by getting my hands dirty. And I think that's probably the best way most of us learn is we take action. So some of my offers were low, some of them were wrong, some of them were off. Yeah, who cares? But every LOI that I made and submitted, and every verbal offer that I submitted, every one of them, made me just a little bit stronger, a little bit better, gave me a little bit more knowledge and education and experience. And eventually I started getting my offers accepted. And that's very important to note as well. So making offers is just a step, guys. Submitting an offer through an LOI or verbally is just taking the next step. If you're not submitting offers, you're never going to get a deal. Nobody's going to make you an offer to be a buyer. Nobody's going to come up to you and say, hey, buy this apartment building. That's not how it works. You, as the buyer, you have to make the offer. And maybe you're operating in a market that's only got a few listings, and I get it. What you might have to do is a couple of things in that scenario. If you're not getting enough deal flow, you can either look for different sources of deal flow, not just brokers. Go direct to seller, go online, go to Facebook groups, find networks that have access to deals, or maybe even just expand your radius a little bit. If you're searching in a small city, maybe expand it to perhaps the MSA. But obviously in those scenarios, if you're going to expand, you got to really know your stuff. Make sure you take that into consideration as well. Or another way to get into a deal is to partner with somebody that's got a deal under contract. But if you're coming from a position like me where you need to get into a deal and you don't have cash or much cash, one way to do that, or the best way to do that, in my opinion, is to get the deal under contract. So if this is you, if you're the person that needs to get a deal under contract in order to be involved in a multifamily deal, then you got to make offers. Okay. And that's just one step, like I said, because once you get your offer accepted, now it's going to get crazy. So stop overthinking it, get it done, pop in a bunch of offers. And if you get one accepted, then congratulations, it's time to rock and roll and make sure you got your ducks in a row and seek more help. And it's action time, and that's okay. I would prefer imperfect action over not taking action any day. And I would prefer that for any person. Yes, you're going to stumble. That's okay, guys. That's what we're here for. So get out there, make offers. And here's a challenge. Why don't you make at least one offer this week? It could be formal. It could be verbal. It doesn't matter. Because if you're not submitting offers and you're not playing this game, and the people who treat this like a real business, they're submitting offers consistently. They're sharpening their axe. They're building muscle. They're getting the reps in. They're making sure the broker relationship is strong. Now, if you want help getting taken seriously in this business, which is another thing, just go grab my free multifamily credibility kit. It'll help you show up as a real operator, not just a tourist. The link is in the description. You can find it on my Stan store, stan.store/buy buildings. And if you want structure, guidance, accountability, check out the Buy Buildings, Build Empires course or the Multifamily Machine on my Stan store. But at the very least, guys, get out there, start submitting offers. Happy New Year.
All right, and that's a wrap, Small Axe community. So I wanted to take a minute to say thank you so much for listening to the show. And if you liked it or got any value from it, it would really mean the world to me if you would share it with someone else and write a review. Remember, guys, keep sharpening those axes. Let's get out there. Let's crush it. Love you guys.